Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today. On today's video, I'm going to be sharing a couple of sides to go with a healthy protein that will make a quick dinner in under 30 minutes. So it's a great weeknight dinner, fairly healthy, just using a bit of assist from the grocery store to get some items going. So I'm going to start with the caramelized Brussels sprouts with onion and bacon, and in a cast iron skillet on medium to low heat, I have a tablespoon of olive oil and half of a medium yellow onion cut into thin slices. So the onion is getting tender, becoming more translucent, and hopefully getting a little bit of caramel flavor on it just for the added flavor for the dish. Don't want it to burn, so I'm going to continue to stir it along the way. And I've already steamed the Brussels sprouts, which you see in the bag up on the other burner and on the plate. It is a 12-ounce bag of pre-washed, trimmed, and halved Brussels sprouts. You cook them for 4 minutes in the microwave, and they steam in the bag that you buy them in. And so those are already finished. They're tender, they're warm. And then I'm using real bacon pieces, low sodium, that are obviously something I don't have to prepare at the house. It saves on time, cleanup, and I like using these in the dish because sometimes with the caramelized Brussels sprouts, you can get a greasy flavor, and using these bacon pieces cuts down on that. So it actually ends up being a bit of a better tasting dish in my opinion. So I'm still stirring the onions. And as you can see, they are getting some caramelization. There's still plenty of fat in the pan. I am putting the lid on again to preserve that fat and to aid in that tenderizing. And you may notice my lovely Dansko clogs I'm wearing. I love to cook in those just because they do help your back when you're standing for so long. So I'm adding a tablespoon of the low sodium bacon pieces. And I am not a measuring kind of person. I can tell by looking. So you may disagree when I say a proportion, but I'm pretty sure that's about equal. Now, I wasn't sure if all the Brussels sprouts would fit in the pan, so I didn't add them all, but sure enough, they did fit. So I added the entire 12-ounce bag. And there were plenty left over. Half of that would have been fine for 2 people. So since the Brussels sprouts have already steamed, they are tender. So all I'm trying to do is get some caramelization on them and help the flavors melt. You know, get them mixing with the onion and the bacon pieces. Did you know that singular is Brussels sprout and plural is Brussels sprouts? I did just add a tablespoon of unsalted butter to the pan and then put the lid back on. Again, the butter is just going to add some creaminess and some great flavor. And by putting the lid on, I am making sure that the pan doesn't get too dry. For the seasoning, I'll be using ground black pepper and seasoned salt. I usually cook with low sodium salt, but when I don't, I like to use Lowry seasoned salt because it just adds more depth of flavor to a lot of dishes. And this is one of those dishes that you don't want to get too far away from. You do want to keep stirring because caramelization is good, burning, not so good. And in goes another half tablespoon of butter. I think a while ago I said I put in a tablespoon, but it was just half, so that was the other half. So altogether 1 tablespoon of butter. I am turning off the burner. Of course, being a cast iron skillet, the skillet is still cooking the vegetables because it's retained the heat, but once it has cooled down, it's going to be perfect. It won't burn the Brussels sprouts. And I'm checking the baked potato, which is in the microwave right now, and it is cooking. I'm just cooking 1 russet potato in a cotton potato baker, which I made. So it's cotton fabric, cotton batting, and I will link the directions for that, which are on my blog, in the notes below. And the recipes for these 2 dishes are in the notes below as well. So if you want to follow along or print them, they are there. I am serving these with an ancient grain encrusted Alaskan cod filet that I got through Swan's, which is really good. We don't have a lot of fresh seafood available to us where I live, so it helps to have some frozen seafood available so that you can get your seafood servings each week. And we are actually sitting here watching Brussels sprouts tenderize, but I have sped up the video in case you see me walking around rather quickly. So that is the potato baker that I have the potato on. It just came out of the microwave, and I ended up steaming for about 7 minutes. Usually at 5 minutes I check them just to see if they're soft enough. I just squeeze through the bag, and since this was just 1 potato, it wasn't going to take very long. So it is very hot, and I am burning my fingers. And in this recipe, you'll be using unsalted butter, seasoned salt, black pepper, low sodium chicken broth or vegetable broth, garlic powder, dried tarragon, and dried parsley. You can really use any herbs you like. Those 2 just work well in this dish. If your main protein, main part of the meal is chicken, tarragon goes particularly well with chicken, but it went quite well with the cod as well. So I am putting in a tablespoon of butter, and again that is unsalted butter, and about half a teaspoon of seasoned salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper. This is just an herb smashed potato, so it's not going to be whipped or mashed to perfection. It's just going to be a rough smash with a fork, and that way there'll still be bits of potato in there. You don't want to overwork it because you don't want it to get gummy either. That is another tablespoon of butter going in. So this is about a 4th teaspoon of garlic powder. Make sure you use powder, not salt. You don't want it to be too salty. This is the dried tarragon, and I put in a generous tablespoon because I love tarragon. And then the dried parsley, and I put in a tablespoon of that. Obviously, if you have fresh of those, you can use fresh. You just probably want to use a little bit more, since with the dried herbs, the flavor gets more concentrated. This is low sodium chicken broth. You're going to see me put 3 splashes in. Altogether, it's about 1/4 of a cup. It's for flavor as well as to enhance the texture, make it a little more moist, and it won't be creamy since there's no cream in it, but the butter does help with that part of the consistency. It just makes for a really good side dish, and it is pretty healthy when you compare it to a mashed potato or even a baked potato with the cheese and sour cream. So that completes the 1/4 of a cup. Of course, the taste test is always the only way to know if you've got it right or not. That is another 1/2 tablespoon of unsalted butter, and that will finish it off. From there, I'm going to put the potatoes in the warming drawer along with the Brussels sprouts. And already in the warming drawer, you'll see, is my sourdough starter. That's where I keep it. That is the cod, and I've already halfway cooked it. I'm going to finish it off when I'm ready to serve dinner. And that is dinner, folks. So it's under 30 minutes. It's decently healthy, takes a lot of help, but it is delish. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you back next week.